record on this computer. Sweet. Okay, so you guys probably just got that sound saying it's recording now. So now we'll just start Python 1. And just to kind of talk briefly about the course structure, today is going to be a little bit of a light day. We'll start off with light programming just to get your feet a little wet. Installing Python is an important part, as that is the introduction of this lesson today. In terms of things that I want to get handy is I do want you guys to be able to, if I can share my screen well enough and make sure I'm sharing the correct screen. Chrome. Yep, it should be showing the screen. Oh, I don't want to be showing that as a roster. So if I look at this from a student perspective, we have our accept the terms and conditions. So this is the first thing you are going to want to do when you're in this course is to accept the terms and conditions. And then once you do that, this will open up for you, this Python Essentials 1. And all it is module 1 and a module 1 test. So this will just give you all the materials you need to learn, and module 1 test will test your abilities on it. And the goal of this course is that you guys will take the PCAP, oh my bad, PCEP. I think that's the actual official exam. I know you may have signed up and it may have said the PCAP, but the PCEP is a certification exam for entry-level programmers, hence the E. And then if you make an A out of it, that's the advanced for the PCAP. But we're only doing the PCEP in this course. Python is a pretty remarkable tool. Let me make sure that if I screen share is okay, sweet. So you should still be seeing my other screen. I hope you guys didn't see my other screen, what I just showed. But what am I trying to say right now? So there's four modules in this course. There's well, I don't want to get into all the modules today, but the first module we're going over is Intro to Python and Computing and the computer science language. And that's pretty much what you're doing in this first module. So just as a reminder, there's 4. Oh, mine says the activation link expired. Oh, okay, perfect. So for right now, you don't have to do that. But yeah, to those problems for students who are either listening to this later or right now, yeah, I'll just go and resend the activation links, because I know that this has been a problem in the past. There's also no TA for this course, which is something I should have said. So it's just me at the current moment. But yes, to your question, I'm going to resend activation links probably after this class is over. But during this course, you can just follow along with my screen sharing. So yeah, there's 4 modules. And then there's 12. This is a 12-week course. So you're expected to do, if I do my math right, 3 weeks per each module, which is pretty good. Module 1 though will be faster. It's not 3 weeks per each module. It's going to be, the schedule is going to be module 1 is going to be faster, 2 is going to be a little bit longer, 3 is going to be longer, 4 is going to be longer. We're gonna pace things out with the course material. But the first one should be a little bit simple. It gives you a history of Python programming if you open up this link. So if I open up module 1, introduction, it'll start me out here. And this is what you're expected to do. How does a computer program work? All the things, what tells you about a language, and natural languages versus programming languages. What these things are important for is just kind of gives you the syntax, the minutia, I suppose, of learning a new language, is that we're just trying to give you a foundation of computer science right now. So in this Python 1 course, we're not expecting you to be expert programmers by any means, but you'll be able to create some cool programs, cool ideas, start a foundation, so that when you go to the next course, it'll be easier. And if you want to learn a different language, and just again as a reminder, whenever you do programming, there are multiple languages. But I would say don't be too afraid of those multiple languages. Those multiple languages usually tend to mean, each language has their own purpose. But if you have a solid background in computer science, it'll be pretty easy picking up a new language. I learned Java, my first language. Then I went to C++ pretty easily. And then I went to Python pretty easily. And then there's R, and there's a whole multitude of languages. But if you get the idea of it, there's just small little differences between each languages and different functions that you can do with each language. So don't be too afraid of seeing all the languages. But in this course, we're only focused on Python. Python is probably one of the most popular languages at the current moment in the world. It's very simple. It's very simple to see. It's very easy grammatically. So it is a really good beginner level programming language. And just so that we can kind of give you guys a rundown, there's all these things. I have it right here. I keep showing the wrong one. I guess I got rid of it. I guess I'll get it. So after this, let me click through this. There's a bunch of things that I want you guys to read in here that teaches you about the Python background. But if we get to 1.2 at some point, I hate that they don't let me have table of contents. So here it'll show you how to get Python depending on your system, because if you have a Linux system or Mac system, Windows system, as some of you may know, there's a little bit differences. In this case, we have, if you're a Linux user, open the terminal console, type this. That's for Mac users, you can do this. So that's going to be our first step, is that creating Python or using Python. So I'm going to, and here we have this thing where it says you can type in Python 3. And feel free to work along with me while we're doing this. I'm going to stop the share so I can show you guys my screen. So if I go here and I'm going to open a new terminal and then share my screen with you. So there's a terminal on your Mac if you have a Mac. It may be different if you have a Windows, but for people who are Mac users, this is the first step, which would be I type in Python 3. And now I have a terminal shell or a Python shell, and the shell being an interactive shell. So if I wanted to do something silly like print, the first thing that every programmer does in every language, you say print hello world. And I made a mistake. Undetermined, oh, I know why. Oops. Hello world. And then I forgot to put ending parentheses. Oh, hell world. I'm already making mistakes, guys. I'm sorry. So that's supposed to be print hello world. And if you see here, I just use an up arrow. So I was able to just go back to my old thing, and to be a good programmer, we'll finish it and make it hello world. So now it won't be so dark of a start to our Python usage. And if you don't have Windows, there's a thing called idle. And in order to get idle, you can just go to a website, and I will show you guys. So I stop the share there, and I will go back to sharing my Google Chrome. And here, if you see, I will just say idle. And you see here, it tells me the definition of idle, but then you have idle right there. I'll type in idle Python. And so you have download Python. You see that I just did it recently. And you can download it for which one's recent, Python for Windows, Mac OS, other, Linux, Unix, whatever your system may be. And just going back to that, I already have that downloaded. So this is just, again, these are all things that I'm talking about are covered in that mod and module that I just showed you. So that is, if you are, thinking, oh, Kayvon's going too fast or anything like that. Again, if I'm going too fast, anyone in the chat, stop me, ask me a question. You're more than welcome to. But just as a reminder, everything will be in those modules, in those module links. So if there is anything that you said, oh, I'm wondering if I could get a little bit more information on, the good thing is those modules are pretty advanced and giving you those advanced topics. So in here, I'm going to click on my idle application that I niftily downloaded, and I'll share you guys my idle. A lot of sharing today. Sharing is caring. So here, if you notice, looks pretty similar to what we just did earlier of what I just had on my Mac terminal. So here, this one has a little bit nicer, prettier in colors. So I do like using idle for that. It may sound silly that colors do help, but colors do actually help you, or they make you feel better. They make you feel like a better programmer or more advanced programmer with this. So we have hello world just again. So a simple function, right? All I wanted my thing to do was type in print hello world, and it did it, print hello world. And so I hope you guys can take that into and try and replicate that as soon as possible because I want you guys to be able to program. So this is the first step you should be doing when you do create your program, is just go to an idle shell, type in print hello world. There's other cool things you could do, right? This is where if I say 2 + 2 = 4, right? It's like, it works like a calculator. So if we wanted to use this as a calculator, we could easily do that. We could make it 8 × 9, 72. I think that's correct. I would hope it would be correct. It even follows pretty, my cousin, was it PEMDAS? PEMDAS. So you can do 594, or let's do +5 divided by 3. And we might get a function. Yeah, we might get something weird. So it did 72. 5 + 3 is divided by 2, which is going to be 72 + 1 2/3, which gives you 73.6667, which would be 73 2/3. So hopefully everything's going well so far. So you can use Python, like, I guess in the simplest terms, as a calculator. So if you get any idea, we are kind of a good way to put a program is, in a sense, it's a calculator for every problem, I guess, if that helps anyone's thinking of what Python does for you. And Python has many uses. There's not just one. We're not just using it for calculators. You can use it to create. Let's say if you have a job, right, and you want to calculate how many taxes I paid this year, you could just say you could make a Python program that'll calculate your taxes, and people have done that. I mean, there are programs out there in the world, I think, that have made lots of millions of dollars for creating programs that calculate your taxes for you. You can do statistics, like whenever you're on the news or economics, they show really fancy graphs, really fancy, in-depth analysis of our economy or stocks. Those are usually done with programming. I remember a story being told to me in my senior year of my undergrad, where there was this hedge fund that never lost any money because they had created a program, and it was a bunch of like elites, I believe, computer science students who had created a program. I won't say what the program it is. It's very complicated, but they did create a computer science program that would be able to calculate the best choice of stock that they need to buy. So that hedge fund, I think, in all their days of being around, they have never lost money on any day. So there are things that, programming is really cool. More complicated ideas like that, don't be shooting for those concepts just yet. Your multi-billionaires will wait in the future. But in terms of right now, cool things like you can create a game off of this. I've actually created a game, a mobile app actually. So there's many things you can do with coding, programming, and this is just kind of the start of it. So if you just, let me do one more thing. So if we create a new file here, I can't share that part of my screen. That's a bummer. So if I screen share my file that I just created called idle, we have this empty file, and I created it by just going to a file, new file. So to create this, I'll put to create this file, I went on idle, file, new file. And so that's how I got here. And if you're looking at why this thing is pretty red, I'll put in another line that says hashtag means a comment. Means my computer won't see what I'm writing here. Won't see or care what I write here. Because if I write this to a computer, they're gonna, if they try to understand what I did, they're definitely gonna crash. It's gonna say, what is this? This isn't anything that I'm learning right now. I don't know what any of these things you're telling me. But in here, if I do that exact same thing again, print hello world, and I'm just going to save it. And let's save it as a document and save it as hello world. And it has this format right here. If you can't see it, I hope you can see it, but there is a thing where if I save it, it gets saved as hello world.py right at the top. Oops, I didn't mean to make my thing so large, and I made it even larger. How am I doing that? Does anyone have any questions while I'm here before I run it? I'll wait a little bit. Oh boy, what have I just done? I just started clicking things on my screen. And I might stop the share and just share my whole screen with you guys, so that just so that you can see everything that I'm doing. I just need to get rid of a couple things in this background so it doesn't clutter you guys when you see it all. Okay, so when I share you my screen, I'll share you my total and overarching screen. If I'm allowed to, desktop one. Okay, perfect. So now you should be able to see my screen. And does everyone see my screen still? Does it have both these files? Oh, sweet. Okay, I got a thumbs up. So now I have this print hello world. And if you look at the top, I'm just going to run module. Unterminated string line detected. Can anyone tell me what I'm doing wrong? I keep making the same mistake in the chat. There should be something I'm doing wrong here. The cool thing is when I did run it on idle, it kind of gives me some idea of what I'm running wrong here. And if I go quotation mark before parentheses, right? Good job, Cadence. Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, it's not that. Actually, my bad. I was wrong. It does tell me the quotation mark is here. The quotation mark isn't the problem. The problem was, and I'll just go and put it here, is I just need to put an end quotation. And now it's going to work. Because whenever I type something out, you need quotations in terms of writing letters. So source must be saved. It's going to save it. And here, it prints out hello world to that same terminal that I had from before. So that's how you're going to run programs. And kind of just building off of that, if I make this where it has no quotations, what do you guys think is going to happen? Do you guys think this is going to run? Do you guys think this is going to crash and burn? What are we feeling? Will it make a difference? We can just run it. My favorite thing in the world is doing this. Anytime I have a question, sometimes I'll be like, does this work? Does that work? The best thing you can do as a programmer, and again, I've been programming for a while now, I still will just go, I don't know what this is going to do. I'm just going to run it. And in here, I'm going to run it. Source must be saved. Yep. Invalid syntax. Perhaps you forgot a comma. So my computer is pretty much telling me, perhaps you forgot a comma. It's saying it has no idea what I need. And the answer is, whenever you're writing anything that's going to be printed back to the user with human words like that, hello world, like a sentence, you need to put it in quotations. And this thing right here, this hello world, we'll get later on into the next module, but this is called a string. But we won't get into that this week. So just so it can give you that idea. The hello world equals string. And again, these comments that I'm putting, these hashtags, like I said before, my computer won't see or care what I write inside the hashtag. But if I got rid of the hashtag, oh, my favorite thing again, I'm just going to run the module. Source must be saved. Every time you run a program, you have to save your program. Invalid syntax. And it's saying H right there. It's saying that's something wrong. But if I do that, make it into a comment, my computer is going to say, I don't really care what's in that. Whenever I see a hashtag, it means I don't care what I see after that on that line. So now the cool thing we can kind of do with this is we can kind of go over doing our calculators. So if I wanted to say print 2 times 5, or yeah, okay, whatever that works. What do you guys think is going to show up? Do you guys think it's going to be, I'll put in quote 10 or error? What do you guys think is going to show up? Any guess is completely fine too. It's a 50-50 shot. You got error, and then feel free to put this on public chat as well. You guys don't have to message it to me. It's good if we can all see it. So right now I got 2 errors. And so right now, so if I do run it, hopefully the other students who are in the class are running it themselves, or I guess following along. Source must be 10. We got the number 10, so it did work. So the thing is although earlier we said it was going to be an error if you do something like that. But in this case, 2 times 5 will work and print out 10. Now, the fun idea is what's going to happen if I do this? I put it in quotation marks. Is this going to show up as 2 times 5, 10, error? What do you guys think? Give me one more, error or the number, whatever you think it may work. 2 times 5. Okay, sweet. So you guys are catching on. Good. Good job. So if I run module, have you caught on? It's now 2 times 5. So whenever I put things in quotation marks, it comes back as is. But when I don't put it as in quotation marks, it'll do the math for me. So there is a little bit of a weird difference, right? Whenever I want to say hello world, it won't work if I take out these things, because whenever I have a program, I must always use quotations for whenever I use a string, and a string is going to be something like hello world. A 2 times 5, that's just a number. In our case, we will call it an integer, which would be in, I guess, our next module. So print 2 times 5 is 10. So good job, guys. You guys are catching on pretty fast to my quick tricks that I try to play on you guys. And something that is interesting with this is whenever our code does not work. So when I did this, when I make this, let's say I get rid of that quotation mark. It's going to not work. This is called a syntax error. A syntax error just means, and if you look in your module, it'll give you a better definition maybe, but a syntax error is when you have an error that is caused by you not following the language rules. Think about it this way. If I said a sentence with 10 different, with words that aren't English, if I said blur, 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 blah, blur, blur, that's going to be an error where it's like, you didn't use any words that correlate to the English language. So error out. Now, if I have something where, let's say, in this case, let's say I have print 2 times 5 is 10, right? Let's say I want the computer in here. I'm going to say in my comment, I'm going to say we want 10 to be the output answer. We want 10 to be our answer. So in our case of let's say we're talking about the English language again, a semantic error would be when I'm saying correct things that are English, but the English doesn't come out right. I can't think of anything grammatically wise at the current moment. If you guys can think of any sentences you can think of that comes to, I can't think of anything that comes to mind of a sentence that you can that you will say out loud, but when you piece it together, it doesn't mean what it means. So I think it's like a homophone, homonym. There's some sort of term for it that I learned back in middle school or elementary school on it. But we want the answer 10. But when I write this code like that and I run it, my answer isn't going to show up as 10, right? It's going to show up as 2 times 5. So this would be a semantic error because the output I wanted of 10 didn't show up, but 2 times 5 did. Semantic error is just meaning your code will run, your program will get this output like this, but your answer is wrong, pretty much. That's a simplified way of putting it. Your module will give you more details on it. And the syntax error is when you don't follow the rules of the language. Hopefully that was a good way of putting it. If anyone wants to ask any question of me to talk about anything over again, feel free to. Oh, and while we're here, I know I was supposed to do this earlier in the class, but it's the first day, a lot of things get jumbled up. I'm also available for office hours. I have not decided on the exact hours of it, but you guys can feel free to email me. My email is kvon@nvef.org, which is actually a pretty cool thing I'm going to do right here. So here I'm going to get rid of this, right? I'll leave that there later. So if anyone wants to look at it while I'm working, you can see it. But so I'm going to say print Kvon's office hours. I'll say TBD. And then I'll say, feel free to schedule anytime. So that's my first thing I'm going to put. And then as me being me, I keep on forgetting the second quotation marks. Usually if you use different types of tools, they'll put the quotation marks for you. So that's why I'm a little bit spoiled and not using my quotation marks. For when you guys are doing it, remember to put quotation marks on both sides. Sometimes the further you go in this computer science journey, you'll find out there's a lot of things that a lot of programs or a lot of things they'll do things so that they can make your life a little easier. And then Kayvon's email is kayvon@nvef.org. And then I messed up. I'm going to go back. And as a reminder, Python is very worrying about spacing. So something that would be kind of a cool thing is I'm putting a space right here. This is going to be a little bit funky. If I run module, do we think it's going to work? Unexpected indent. The thing about Python that it is cool about it, but a little bit annoying, is that spacing matters. It does matter. So these two sentences have to be on the same line. In certain cases, there will be indents, but when you have an indent, there's a reason for that indent. In other programs, you can get by putting as many weird spaces as you want possible. You're not a great programmer in those cases because people are going to be like, why is your program so messy? There's so many different spaces. But in this case, we're forcing you to follow the correct amount of spaces for whatever you do. So here, I'll run it. So now you'll see that my email is kayvon@nvef.org. And my hours are to be determined. Feel free to schedule at any time. And then let's say this. I want to make, let's say this. Kayvon, I'm going to say Kayvon time available. So let's say I'm making a program for myself to keep track of myself. So I'm going to say I have a total of 10 hours that I have in this week. Let's say that's just my total amount of time. Now I'm going to say, how many hours should I hours for teaching? Kayvon, let's say Kayvon teaching. Teaching hour equals 1. So I teach this class from 4 to 5. So that's going to be that. Let me put that in there as well. This class starts at 4 on Mondays and ends at 5. So there we have that. Kayvon teaching hours is 1. So I teach this class for 1 hour. And I'm going to be at office hours. So Kayvon office hours. I could do better variable names. You can think of this as X, Y, and Z, but it's always good to have good names. So Kayvon office hours, I'm going to give you guys 3 office hours. I give you guys a week, right? So now I want to say Kayvon total, Kayvon worked time. So now if I want to calculate all that, I'm going to say Kayvon time available. You could use a little bit shorter variable names. You could have said time available. I didn't have to put Kayvon for each one, right? Seems kind of redundant. So in this case, I'm just going to say, I know this is my own stuff, so I'm just going to go and get rid of it. And because we are using variables, it's proper convention to do this thing called camel case, where for each new word you do, you put a capital. So teaching, capital hours. Office, capital hours. New word starts with a capital. First letter does not start with a capital. And as you'll see, you'll find out that there are more variable rules. You can't put certain things. You can't start with a number here. So I can't do 3 office hours. That'd be illegal. But there are other rules that you'll find out along the way. So Kayvon work time, Kayvon time available minus my teaching hours, minus my office hours. Now, what do you guys think is going to happen when I run this program? Does anyone have an idea? You guys are helping me create this program for my schedule. So when I push run, what do you think is going to show up in here as my output, as my answer? Error, Daphne says error, okay. Anyone, nothing will print because there's no print statement. Okay, so these are good answers. So best thing to do, Brandon's on the right track, where I did have print statements before. But whoa, what happened? I got some errors. Can anyone tell me what's happening? As you can see, I have some red here. But I did print these things out, right? So my code errored out, but I was still able to write the earlier parts of the code. So in this way, this is kind of a good segue here. Great, brilliant segue by me, pat on my back for this one, which leads me to tell you guys that Python is an interpretive language. And an interpretive language means that it will read line by line. And I'll put that here. Interpreter equals computer reads your program line by line. So when you read line by line, you're going to see that it did read all these things. It read these things, but there was no print statement, right? So Brandon was right that there was no print statement, but Daphne was also correct because there was an error in here. So good job to both of you guys. So does anyone want to tell me off of reading this red line? This red line is something that you're going to see a lot when you write code because no one ever writes perfect code. And I think I'm a perfect answer for that reason because I have actually made these errors myself on live right now with not even as a trying to trick you guys. I'm genuinely making mistakes. So you will see that you will always run into these errors regardless. Does anyone want to tell me what happened wrong here? Kayvon time available isn't a variable, right? It isn't defined, and that's called a name error, as you can see right there. And the reason for that is Kayvon time available doesn't exist anymore. This one, maybe I did trick a little bit. I changed my variable name, but I did not change this variable name. So if I go and fix that, so good job, Cadence. So if I make this just time available and I run it, let's see what happens now. It ran, but I didn't get an answer. It didn't tell me how many hours I've worked, right? But we wanted to see how many hours Kayvon was going to work this week. Or I want to know that, So Brandon kind of talked about this earlier. So I'm just going to say print Kayvon worked. Let's say Kayvon worked. And then I'll put this. We'll make it simple. Kayvon worked, print, and then I'll say time. Kayvon worked time. And there's going to be a way that you find out that we can kind of concatenate this, or concatenate's a little bit, I shouldn't say that word, but there's a way where I can put this all on one line. And maybe we'll talk about it in a bit. Print Kayvon work time, and then I'll say hours. Actually, I don't want to say print hours. We'll just say that. What do you think is going to show up when I do this? When I print this, I can actually just run it because Kayvon worked 6. But it's on a different line. I don't really like that. So Kayvon worked 6. So I worked 6 hours, right? But that's not what we want to really do. And this is the part where I may get my languages mixed up because a lot of times when you do different languages, you can do things like this. And I can put Kayvon work time. So I'm hoping I'm getting this right for Python because I've been using a lot of Java of a different language recently. Oh, doesn't work. Can't do that. Okay, so is it this one then? I believe it might be this one. There it is. It's a comma, not a plus. Okay. So now I was able to make it where so I can put it all on one line. And I'm going to say hours and my quotation marks because I'm a good programmer now. And I'm going to put a space here so that when I print it out, it knows, actually, you don't need to put a space because Java or Python, I keep saying Java, will put this space for you whenever you do this. So when I run it now, it's going to say, Kayvon, do you want to save it? And I'm going to say, yep, save it and run it. So now Kayvon worked 6 hours. See, I just made a program just like that to tell me how many hours I worked this week. So hopefully you guys are starting to get an idea of how limitless we can take this Python. I mean, maybe this isn't the most limitless technique to show you, but the good idea is that there are things we can do to make simple programs. I can make a program that tells you how many hours I'm going to work this week. Now let's say this. Now I want to say how much money did Kayvon make this week? Let's say Kayvon's getting paid $1,000 for each hour I'm working. That'd be nice, right? So we're going to say hour per hourly pay. hourly pay equals $1,000. I'm going to be rich after this one class. So this is the only class you guys are getting from me because I'm going to get paid 1,000 for this 1 hour. So I'm going to say 1,000 times Kayvon work time. And now I'm going to say print. Oh, wait, no, it's just 1,000, my bad. We want to keep this as my hourly pay. So we're just going to create a variable that holds it, $1,000, $1,000 per hour. So now I'm going to say print Kayvon made, and we're going to put in here hourly pay times Kayvon work time, right? That's a pretty simple equation. Kayvon work time, and I'm going to put in this week. So when I run it now, I'm going to run module. See, I would say that like, oh, I did this on purpose, but I'm such a bad programmer. I keep forgetting to put my end quotation marks down. Run module and okay. And what is it going to happen? It's going to say I made $6,000 this week. Sheesh, what a good deal I just got. Fantastic job. So I just made $6,000 this week off of that. So I just calculated my salary. I just calculated my hours I'm working this week. And now the thing I told you guys earlier, let's say the government is saying, Kayvon, I want your money now. And we're going to take some away from you. So we're going to say tax rate equals, you know what? I am pretty young, so I don't really know the tax rate. I don't think I even make much money to even get taxed most of the time. So if I do a tax rate, let's say Uncle Sam is going to take 25% from me, right? So we're going to say 0.25. Yeah, I'll say 0.25 because 25% equals 0.25. I hope you guys are having fun with this because I'm kind of having fun calculating my imaginary taxes right now. And let's say we're going to do this for the whole year, right? So the government's going to take out my money for the whole year. So how many weeks are in a year? We say there's 52 weeks, if anyone can correct me. Weeks in a year equals 52. So this is where the things are going to get more complicated. I am having a little bit more fun with this. So tax rate. Actually, what I might want to let you guys do is I kind of wanted to let you guys do this. I want you guys to do this for me. Calculate. Let me put this up, this interpreter line. It's a good line, so I want to keep it. But let me put this down here so that you guys can have access to it. I'm going to put an enter. So because we are a little bit running out of time, and this is a fun one, so I'm going to say, let's say for extra work, calculate how much money I make after a year and after 25% taken off. So Uncle Sam is now taking off 25% off of my money, and there's 52 weeks in a year and my hourly pay. So you should have everything that there should be to create that. I will at some point, and I just want to state this, at some point I will probably assign a homework assignment during NetAcad on the NetAcad, and I'll announce it to the class. It's just, I'll probably just do one assignment for each module, just to make sure that you guys know what you're doing, and so that when you guys take your entry-level exam, again, you know, you'll be ready. I think, and I just want to state this because we are getting towards the end of this class. It is a lot of fun programming. I was having a blast making this this tax calculator off my imaginary, my hopeful future salary at some point in life. So it is a really fun thing to do. Feel free to do the stuff with your own stuff. That was the coolest thing I think I had with it, was that I was able to create tic-tac-toe games when I first started doing this. I was able to create, I can't think of everything. I created a fake bank account, or a fake bank that took accounts and transactions. That was a hard assignment, I remember my first year. So I won't do that with you guys as much. I don't know if it was that fun to do now that I think back. But there's so many fun things you can do with programming. It really is. So I hope you guys take the amount of fun that this was try to apply it for yourself. If you weren't having fun doing this, calculating my taxes, I hope you guys will have fun calculating whatever it is that you guys do. So if you want, you can create your own calendar if you wanted to. Put it, and you can make variables that will change as time goes. But make sure to read your module 1 this week. That's going to be a thing that I want you guys to do. I mean, it's always important to do that. I hope you guys just, I hope I just did not share my other thing. I mean, it doesn't make a difference. But what I want to go back to is the NetAcad, I believe. I hope I just didn't lose my train of thought. I had an idea that I was going to talk to you about. Oh, that's the worst, huh? When you're just on the cusp of something and then it's just gone. It'll come back to me in a second, I'm sure. But I want you guys to be doing the module 1 this week. Download Python. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, there it is. Now my brain has remembered what I'm doing. Sweet. I'm so excited for myself. And I'm going to share screen. So when I share my screen of Google Chrome again, right? So we're here in this Python Essentials. We're back in this spot again. Cool thing is, again, I want you guys to download it yourself on your own system. If you have a Mac, you can use that terminal like I talked about earlier. Or in here, we can use Sandbox. Sandbox is a really cool thing that the NetAcad gives you. And if it reminds you of anything that you just did, I can do this. And you see, okay, now just to show you I'm not crazy, I just want to prove my point here. When I type in this, you see how it puts in the second quotes automatically. So when you saw me doing it earlier, know that I wasn't making, like, my brain, like the computer will do it sometimes for you. And I'm so used to that. So here I'll print hello, and it prints back hello world. You can even take what we just wrote today. You can't see it on this screen, but I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it right here. We'll get rid of this print hello. We don't need that anymore. And I'm going to run it. Kayvon's office hours. Feel free to schedule anytime. Kayvon@nvf.org. The class starts at 4 on Mondays and ends at 5. Kayvon worked 6 hours. Kayvon made 6,000 this week. What a great hourly pay he's getting. So that's the cool thing with this, is that Sandbox is pretty much exactly like this. So when you're doing your NetAcad, there will be programming questions, and you can use the Sandbox to test things out. This is a really cool thing. You can create so many ideas. I'm like, programming is really like, it's a big puzzle. That's what makes programming fun. It's a big puzzle. And I hope that you guys see it like I do, where you can just, the world is your oyster, I guess. You can do as many fun things with it. You can crack as many puzzles with it. And it's a generally fun thing to do sometimes, especially in this like intro area. When you start getting further on in life, you know, you might start running into problems that are a little bit tougher, but you know, it's more fun with more challenges as time goes by. So I hope you guys can do that. And I'll stop my share once more. We'll come back here. If any of you guys have any questions, because we are getting to the end of the course, feel free to ask. But I have pretty much gone over all the things that I wanted to go over with you today. I may have done a little bit more than what I should have, but you know, I think next week I'll go more into depth on certain ideas. But so in terms of week 1, your week 1 is just going to be probably module 1. I think I might just keep it as that. And I may assign an assignment after the next week when you come back. Because I kind of want to get to module 2 faster, because module 2 is where you start doing the fun stuff, the stuff that we just did. Really, I think I went a little bit further ahead because I was having so much fun with you guys. So feel free to test out things. Also, be always prepared for things. I've learned that lesson in college. I'm still learning that lesson currently while I'm doing my master's. Is being prepared will save your life. It is so important to just be prepared for everything. In this case, you know, we see each other once a week, so it's not like going to be the worst thing in the world, but I always want you guys to be prepared. You guys can, it helps you learn the topic material better, but I guess that kind of just is general advice in life. Just be prepared, you know, being proactive helps you. I have 2 projects soon due, so and that was all due to me being not proactive. So I just will speak from my own personal experience. And if anyone has any other questions, I'll stop the share and stick around, and I'll go and fix the activation links for those who don't have that activation set up yet. Any questions? I think we're going to end this one earlier because we did, this is a little bit introductory, kind of like syllabus week. All right, so I'll end the meeting. Pause, stop recording.